Ladies and gentlemen, we have probably the best main event of the year so far in terms of hype, in terms of a stylistic matchup, in terms of just knowing that you're going to see a fucking banger. I mean, we had all the number events. We had the first two numbered events. And those main events, I mean, they felt a bit undeserved. And so I think that it takes a little bit of the mystique away. Obviously, Gaethje and fucking Paddy Pimblett didn't deserve to be there. The Diego Lopez rematch also feel like it wasn't deserved. I'd say the only one that kind of was living up to it was Charles against Max, but we all know how that fucking ended. And then Yuri against fucking Carlos Oberg. Definitely a banger of a matchup, but not the same hype that we had with this matchup. At Fight Nights, I mean, we did have a top 5 matchup with Evloev and Murphy, but that aura, that hype just doesn't compare to this matchup. And for us out here in the west coast of the U.S., it's going to be a bitch to get up, but we're going to have to make it work. This is going to be a fucking banger, and I'm here today, as the title says, to talk about this main event and how I think it goes. So without further ado, enough of the yapping. Let's get straight into it. Like I said, this is a fucking banger of a matchup. Both of them kind of coming off of different stages in their career. We saw JDM with his first loss in the UFC against Islam Makhachev, which Prates has been there before. I mean, we saw him get kind of outclassed against Ian Gary. And he's been there before, but he's bounced back. He's got 2 great wins against Jeff New and Leon Edwards. And JDM is on the opposite side of that. He's on right after that loss. How will that affect him? I guess we're going to have to find out. But getting into both of them a little bit more, talking about the style of JDM, obviously, as we all know, this guy is an A+ level boxer with his main form of damage, I guess to say, are the combinations in close. He loves to unload the combinations. He rips to the body. He rips up top. He goes with the huts. You're fighting him. Next thing you know, he's fucking walking you down. He's throwing 4 punches at you, 2 to the body, 1 to the liver, and then 2 up top. And then you're like, what the fuck? This guy has a very fun style, a very fun striking style. We're seeing boxing growing in the UFC, kind of a boxing background when it comes to the striking, and I think it works really well. I mean, it got him all the way up to being a champion. So obviously, that boxing style is doing something right. We know that overhand right is going to be there, and especially with a guy like Carlos Prates, when I'll get there to him in a little bit, he likes to lean back. He likes to lean back kind of in a straight line. He doesn't move his head off the center line as much when he's retracting, when he's leaning back. And we saw how guys like Ian Gary were able to damage him. And JDM, that's going to be his bread and butter. It's going to be there for him. He knows how to work the body and work up top. So he'll have those combinations. He'll unload. Pause. Definitely a lot of combinations, but we'll see how that gets into it. We'll see how much damage that actually does. 5-round cardio for this guy. We know it's held up. This guy's a fucking dog. The cardio has held up. The chin has held up against obviously not as powerful of guys, which I'll get to in a little bit as well. But we know that the cardio has held up. He went 5 rounds against Bilal Muhammad where the volume was there. It was volume. And he won that fight. We saw against Islam Makhachev, he was getting taken down every single round. The submissions were there. Islam Makhachev was trying to get submissions, and the jiu-jitsu defense of this guy was just too good. And even then, like, you get to that 5th round, and then maybe you're like, fucking gassed. Most people would give up, especially the guy with a tight grip, pause, like Islam Makhachev. A lot of people would have given up. They would have been tired, but not this guy. This guy, the cardio held up, the dog in him held up, and I think that's a really good sign going into a main event in his hometown of Perth. So yeah, really good point for him. Really good note for JDM. The thing I do have to say though, he has struggled in his last fights. We look at that Bilal Muhammad fight, And maybe you could say that he was ahead the whole time, but he never really separated himself completely in a very dominant fashion. We saw that fight against Kevin Holland, split decision. I look back on that fight, I think he won 29-28. But again, it's 29-28 against a guy in Kevin Holland that has kind of a similar style that Carlos Prates does. And so you kind of worry how that is going to translate against this guy in Carlos Prates, especially knowing that JDM likes to get in close. He likes to get in the pocket. He likes to be in your face. And we know that Carlos Prates can hit you in a lot of different angles. So I worry a bit for JDM and how that's gonna hold up in a fight. And lastly, how like I was just alluding to, how is his chin going to hold up against not only a power hitter, but the most powerful hitter that he has ever faced, and by I'd say a good margin. You wonder. These are questions that we have because obviously his chin held up against a guy like Bilal Muhammad, but how is it going to hold up against a guy in Carlos Prates that has insane power? That kind of power that only a couple guys in the UFC have. How is it going to hold up? I don't know. It remains to be seen. And like I was saying, I'm a bit worried because this guy, the combinations are in close. He needs to go to the body. He needs to rip to the body. And Carlos Prates is going to have the reach advantage. So you wonder how he's improved his game in that aspect. How he saw that fight against Ian Gary where the range was a bit of a problem for him. How is that going to reflect in this fight? It's going to be a little bit different because JDM is going to be the one coming in close. But like I said, Carlos Prates uses every limb. I'm afraid this guy might run into something. We haven't seen it before, but hey, I don't think he's ever faced a dynamic or a more dynamic striker than Carlos Prates. We're going to have to find out. We're going to find out Saturday night, man. We're going to find out Saturday night. Moving on to Carlos Prates. I think a question that we're going to get answered this weekend is to be seen. Obviously, it's a little bit of rage bait, but is he a bit of a power merchant? We don't know. Obviously, he's very skilled. He's very elite. To take down defenses there, which I don't think he'll need in this fight. But is he a bit of a power merchant when it comes to those top level guys? We know he can hit hard, but is that all he has to offer? Can he outclass someone like he failed to do against Ian Gary? I think this is a very good question that we're going to get answered this weekend. And maybe he doesn't outclass him and still knocks him out. But I think that'll prove that he's able to kind of overcome that and find a way to win fights. Obviously, the power is insane. He is probably a top 5 guy in terms of power. He just has the touch of death, and we've seen it plenty of times. Will we see it one more time? Guys, maybe there's a lot of questions that you want me to answer, but I think it's good just to bring him up, just to talk about him, just to bring light to them, because it's a good question. I think it's a very valid question. Another point for Carlos Prates. He keeps his hands low, and he won't fight long. And especially in a fight against JDM where he's going to have the reach advantage, I believe. Yes, okay, sorry, I had to check that real quick. He is going to have the reach advantage. So we know that Carlos Prates can hit you at any angle, especially when he has a 5-inch reach advantage, which is quite a bit. We know he can we know he can use the elbows. We know he can use the hands. We know he can use the kicks. We know he can use the knees. Obviously, a very Muay Thai style kind of guy, which is why he keeps his hands low. But I think this is kind of going to work to his advantage a little bit. I don't think JDM has ever faced a guy like Carlos Prates. Like I said, he faced a guy in Kevin Holland that had the kind of rangy, lanky kind of style, but that's more of a kung fu. That's more of a, Miyagi kind of style. Kevin Holland gets in there and he's thinking about Mr. Miyagi. We saw him in the Karate Kid. We saw how he practiced that move 500 times, 1,000 times. And so we know that Kevin Holland knows that move 1,000 times, but Carlos Prates knows 1,000 moves and is also very good at them and also has the power advantage. So, it's just going to be a different fight than it was against Kevin Holland. So I think that's going to work to Carlos Prates' advantages. Like I said, he can use every limb, but at times, and at times I mean most of the time, he can be a bit low volume. He can be a little low volume. We saw it against Ian Gary, how that was a detriment to him in the first 2 rounds. And he kind of picked it up a little bit in the fourth and the fifth round, which really worked to his advantage. And we saw how he got Ian Gary hurt. Granted, it was a little bit situational, is the word that I was looking for. But can he put JDM in those positions? I think he can. But like I said, he's a bit low volume. And if he's low volume against a volume guy in JDM, I think he's going to get pieced up a lot. I think he's going to, next thing you know, he's down in the strikes. He's down a couple rounds and he has to bounce back like he did against Ian Gary, and it just wasn't enough. And last thing, which is a very valid question, can he beat an elite top 5 guy? And you may be like, whoa, Mike, he's just literally fucking beat Leon Edwards. What are you talking about? Say what you want, man. Leon Edwards, he was a champ, had his good little run. I don't think he's elite anymore. I don't think he's a top 5 guy anymore. And when we saw Carlos Prates against a top 5 guy in Ian Gary, who I actually rate maybe a little higher than a lot of people do, there's a reason he's probably up next for the title. He got outclassed. That's simply it. He got outclassed. Had a moment there at the end. But for the most part, for 4.5 rounds, he got outclassed. That's just the reality of things. And I think we need to see Carlos Prates kind of take it to another gear. We need to see him bring out a side of him that maybe we haven't seen before. Maybe that's just what it's going to take to beat a guy in JDM who I think is really good. Who I think, pound for pound, is a better, silkier striker than Carlos Prates. He has more volume. He's more accurate. So we're going to have to see a different level than we've seen to Carlos Prates. Maybe JDM wants to go for the takedowns. I don't think so. I think he wouldn't want to put himself in that situation where he's in the clinch. Because in the clinch, you're going to favor a guy in Carlos Prates that has that Muay Thai base, that is going to have the knees up the body, knees up the middle, elbows when breaking from the clinch. So I don't think JDM is going to go to that. But I think we are going to have to see another level of Carlos Prates' game that I think he can get to for sure, 100%. So there's just a lot of questions. There's a lot of questions on both sides. And I'm just really fucking excited. The storylines that we're going to see, the different aspects of their fight game, the different angles that they can come up with, and maybe big adjustments that they make. Both of these guys are primarily strikers, and I think that can bring the best out of both of them. But ultimately, you guys are here for me to make a pick. And guys, when I tell you I've been going back and forth on this, I literally had this video already made yesterday, but I was like, I need to fucking sleep on it because I really have no idea who I want to pick for this fight. I think this is a very 50-50 fight. And look, I'm going to be honest with y'all. If these guys have the exact same amount of power, I think I'm going JDM 10 times out of 10. Because, like I said, like I was alluding to before, the better, silkier, just more technical fighter, 100% JDM. I even dare to say that JDM is a better fighter in general. He's just a better fighter. I don't think that's ridiculous to say. I don't think I'm sounding like batshit crazy for saying that. I genuinely just think that JDM is a better fighter. I think he's more accurate. I think he's more silky. I think he's more technical. I think the volume is obviously in his favor as well. But on the flip side, you have a guy in Carlos Prates that's very obviously going to have that power advantage. And so you wonder, this 25 minutes enough for Carlos Prates to find that shot? We've seen it not go his way. Will it happen this time? I don't know, man. I mean, we saw his last fight against Jeff Neal, and we saw Neal have success, and we saw him have the most success when he closed the distance, when he got in close, started on ripping those combinations. And a style like JDM is just going to be better than Carlos Prates because he's going to have the volume, he's going to have the technique, he's going to have the accuracy. And Carlos Prates is kind of going to bank on the power being enough. That's just a reality. I think that's just the reality of the situation that we're living in. But with that being said, you guys are here for the fucking prediction. And guys, my pick for this fight is gonna be Carlos Prates by KO, man. And you asked me for the reasoning. I mean, I just think he's gonna get him. Okay. Enough of the Lucas Flaky glaze. But honestly, I think that's what's gonna happen. I think if you take this fight, if you have them fight 10 times out of 10, I think JDM wins 7 or 8 of those. But I think we're living in a reality where Carlos Prates is just gonna get him. I just think that's gonna happen. I don't know. It's not something that's like based on what I said, because I have a video that's gonna come out here in the next week or so that's gonna show what I really think about both of their striking games. But I just think Carlos Prates is gonna fucking get him, on. And I don't know what it is. It's just a tingle in my sack that I feel. And I was watching different videos from guys, and I saw Bedtime MMA's video, and he's like, we're picking Carlos Prates based on the vibes. And honestly, fuck, I can't tell you guys that there's another reason for it. Like I said, it's just a tingle in my sack that's telling me that Carlos Prates is gonna fucking get him, on. And I think it's the swag. It's you guys are probably fucking like, this guy is crazy. Like, I think Carlos Prates, I obviously think Carlos Prates is very talented, very skilled, and accurate in his own right. And I think Carlos Prates is definitely a top 5 guy. But I think JDM is just slightly more skilled, slightly more technical, slightly more accurate, as I've been saying this whole video. But I think the biggest discrepancy is in the power. And JDM likes to get in close. I don't want to say he takes one to give 3 or 4, because I don't think that's the reality of it. But I think he's going to put himself in those dangerous situations. And you can't be putting yourself in dangerous situations, in dangerous distances, against a guy like Carlos Prates. I think he's learned from that Ian Gary fight. I think he knows what it's like to be in there in the main event against a guy that's a bit more technical than him, that is a bit more accurate than him. And we're in Perth, and it would be like, you got to take the hometown guy, but you never think about the flip side. What about the pressure that's probably on JDM? What about the pressure that's on him? Added on top of that he just lost his last fight. He got dominated. He kind of winced. He broke down. Islam broke him down, not physically but mentally. And so you think about those things adding up, and I'm thinking about a guy in Carlos Prates that has the swagger, that's gonna have the confidence. He's coming off of 2 wins. He's coming off a win versus a champion. That, to be fair, JDM also has. But I just think the fucking pressure is gonna be too much, lad. I don't know. That's why I say it's the swag, it's the aura. Call it what you want. Call it delusional. But I think Carlos Prates he's gonna find a shot, and he's gonna knock out JDM. I think that's what's gonna happen. Say maybe you want a technical breakdown of how I think he's gonna get there, what shots he's gonna use to set it up. I don't have that here. I just don't have it. I think that Carlos Prates is just gonna be able to find the shot when JDM wants to close the distance, and he's just gonna land flush. And if Carlos Prates lands flush, not once or twice, or if he lands flush once, sometimes that's enough. But I think he's gonna do it maybe twice, and that's gonna be enough. And when you're going up against a guy in Carlos Prates, you just can't let that happen. And I think JDM is gonna let it happen, unfortunately. But yeah, guys, that was my prediction. That was my breakdown of UFC Perth's main event, Carlos Prates against Della Maddalena. Either way, guys, I'm not going to be mad at the result. I was going to say congrats to JDM. I'm on a fucking opposite of a heater when it comes to these main event predictions. I think I've only gotten one right since I started making videos. I swear I would look back and I'd be like, so fucking easy, guys. Like, you know, just make the pick. Like, the pick is. Before I started making videos, I swear I was getting basically every main event right. But that's how it goes. And it's gonna take a while maybe for you guys to get confidence in me. But hey, I think I have more to offer than just the right picks. It's a bit of entertainment. It's a bit of yapping. It's a bit of, me, using the all the fucking knowledge and memes and everything that I have of MMA to bring you guys some entertainment. But yeah, like I said, that was my breakdown for this banger of a fucking card. I won't be mad at either result. I just hope it's a great fight. I hope it doesn't disappoint us like Charles versus Max did. I don't think it will. I don't think this has even the slightest of chances. But yeah, guys, that's going to be it for me. I do want to shout, you know, I can't even say like the viewers. I do want to shout out now my 6th subscriber. We're fucking growing, man. Let's go Halo MMA 2026, baby. Y'all know the year of Halo MMA. But my last video got the most views any of my videos have ever gotten. Close to like 700 now, which to me is insane. I don't know why you would want to listen to me fucking yap for that amount of time. And granted, not a lot of people stay this long, but it's really appreciated. And that's all I have to fucking say. So make sure you like, make sure to subscribe, make sure to comment who you think is gonna win, where I was right, where I was wrong. And yeah, I'll see you next time. Peace.